quase 60 anos, nos juntamos para criar a ABPI. Nosso propósito é valorizar e proteger a propriedade intelectual no Brasil. A propriedade intelectual é marco fundador das sociedades modernas. Ela é a instituição que reconhece o papel fundamental do trabalho intelectual na construção do desenvolvimento material, humano e cultural. Ele confere estatura legal. Foi longo o caminho que se percorreu desde que os primeiros estados conferiram direitos a artistas e inventores até a consolidação de um entendimento global sobre a proteção da propriedade intelectual. Este esforço nunca estará concluído. O gênio humano se expande em velocidade combinatória sobre o acúmulo crescente do que foi anteriormente criado. Seu avanço transcende as formas de expressão e as modalidades de interação existentes a cada momento. Surgem continuamente desafios aos estatutos legais e às formas usuais de redigir contratos. Os regimes de propriedade devem facilitar a interação, transmitir confiança e promover a colaboração em todos os campos da criação. A ABPI é instrumento de todos que entendemos que criatividade e inovação são as chaves para o desenvolvimento humano e o progresso material. Agimos para promover o aperfeiçoamento contínuo da legislação brasileira sobre propriedade intelectual, arte, cultura e inovação, em conformidade com as melhores práticas internacionais. Central neste esforço é agregar todos os atores relevantes em torno de uma agenda de atividades que propicie a troca de informações e a ação conjunta. É hora de nos unirmos para combater a Covid-19. É nossa obrigação incentivar e promover o reconhecimento do esforço inventivo de nossos cientistas e profissionais de saúde. Vamos trabalhar juntos para que esse esforço seja coroado por benefícios para a saúde dos brasileiros e de todas as populações afetadas no menor prazo possível. A ABPI está engajada em orientar legisladores e gestores, públicos e privados, quanto às maneiras mais eficientes de proteger soluções tecnológicas, novos equipamentos, medicamentos e outros insumos, e ajudar a contratar a sua mais eficiente disseminação. Participe! A ABPI está sempre aberta para quem quer ajudar a promover a inovação e contribuir para superar desafios como o enfrentamento da Covid-19.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of ABPI, Brazilian Association of Intellectual Property, WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization, we welcome you to another edition of our IP meetings. WIPO approved New Horizons in Safeguarding Intellectual Assets. This is already the fourth edition of this series of meetings, which ABPI and WIPO hold in order to disseminate knowledge and culture about intellectual property. We would like to remind you that this event is being streamed in Portuguese and English, and you just need to choose your preference on YouTube. We'd like to greet the experts with us in this event, Dr. Luiz Edgard Montaury, President of ABPI, Isabella Pimentel, Counselor of the WIPO office in Brazil. Likewise, we would like to thank the attendance of our audience, Dr. Álvaro Loureiro, President of ABPI, Brazilian Association of Industrial Property Agents, Elizabeth Simpson do Amaral, President of AZIPI, the Inter-American Association of Intellectual Property, Fabiano Barreto, Specialist in Policies and Industry at the National Confederation of Industry, Felipe Daneman Lundgren, President of the Industrial Property Commission of the Brazilian Bar Association, We have the honor of also having here Elizabeth Casnaz-Fichetti, former president of ABPI. Thank you very much for being with us. Luiz Enrique Duamoral, vice president of AIPPI, Association Internationale pour la Protection de la Propriété Intellectuelle. Karina Heider-Miller, president of LES Brazil. Marcelo do Nascimento, president of ASPI, the São Paulo Association of Intellectual Property. We would like to give the floor to the president of ABPI to address the audience, Dr. Luiz Edgard Montaury Pimenta. Good afternoon to all. I would like to send my special greetings to my friends. There are so many people following yet another ABPI webinar with us. This is such an interesting topic, New Horizons in Safeguarding Intellectual Assets. We are very eager to listen to what our speakers have to say about this. I'd like to greet my friend Isabella Pimentel, the head of WIPO in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and to greet of the intellectual complex of the state of Paraíba, Nadja Maria Oliveira, and I'm very curious about this intellectual complex. I would love to go there because we hear so much about this in Brazil, and one becomes very curious about it. And one day we would like to pay a visit to this place and see from close by the reason why you managed to make such progress in the northeast of Brazil. The southeastern states would be those most engaged with technology. So this is why I would like to especially congratulate Dr. Oliveira, and we would love to be invited to come and visit. And also Dr. Claudio Cocorocchia, who is from WIPO. And I also need to make special reference to our friend who is so active in our webinars and lectures, Dr. Marcia Nunes de Barros, who's known to everybody, federal judge here in Rio de Janeiro. She is one of the most active judges in the field of intellectual property. Whenever we meet her in these meetings, everybody realizes how passionate she is about this matter. I wonder how she manages to devote her time to this, because she is so busy, because she works with tax matters. So when you compare tax matters to intellectual property, we see that it is difficult to reconcile the two. But I am sure that she manages to do that very well. I would like to give the floor now straight on to Isabella Pimentel to make her address and then start our webinar. Thank you very much. I wish you all a nice webinar. Thank you very much, Edgar. Thank you very much, Erica. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. This is the 5th IP meeting that we are holding, WIPO together with ABPI. I would like to thank you for this cooperation. Once again, this has been so fruitful. We have had more than 4,700 views, adding up all of the events that we have posted on the web. And I think that this is being very profitable to everybody, to WIPO and to ABPI, which is bringing this knowledge to the audience that is having access to this knowledge that perhaps would not be so available in a presential meeting. So it is very nice to have this opportunity online. It is an honor to be here representing WIPO, replacing Mr. José Garçaranha, my supervisor, who was unable to be here at the last minute. And we are very enthusiastic about this partnership. And you'll be hearing about WIPO Proof, which is a recent service provided by WIPO that is going to be explained by Dr. Claudio Cocorocchia, which is a new device by WIPO that allows you to safeguard what is not as yet intellectual property. And I think that this is going to prove extremely useful. And I think that the adhesion of Brazilians has been very prominent for people in academia and those that want to protect trade secrets, and even designers who want to protect their work, or artists whose work is not, so to speak, mature enough to be protected otherwise. So I'm very happy to bring this here and to have Dr. Cocorocchia with us. And I would like to especially thank Dr. Nadja and Dr. Marcia, who have made themselves available to explain to us how prior art works in the court system, and also how WIPO Proof can make their lives easier in terms of research. So I give the floor back to Erica, and I wish you all a nice webinar. Thank you very much for our hosts. We would like to thank all of you at home. Some of you already in your offices. We have more than 100 people connected in Brazil and abroad. In an increasingly digital world where innovation and creativity are made possible by technology, big data, and global collaboration, we start our webinar, WIPO Proof, New Horizons in Safeguarding Intellectual Assets. To start our program, I'd like to give the floor to our moderator, Dr. Marcia Maria Nunes de Barros, Federal Judge of the 13th Federal Court of Rio de Janeiro in the 2nd Region of Rio de Janeiro. You have the floor, Dr. de Barros. Good afternoon. I would like to thank Dr. Luiz Edgard for his kind words, but I would like to make a little correction. I don't work with tax matters, but rather social security. And our court is specialized like this. It is very odd to cover these two areas, social security and IP, but in practice, reality shows that this has been working rather well. Thank you very much, Isabella and WIPO, Dr. Garçaranha, for this invitation, for being here today. This is such a challenging topic to talk about, new horizons in safeguarding intellectual property assets. I am very curious to get to know this tool that WIPO is making available. I don't have all that much to say. I would just like to provide you with some context, as was requested from me. When we talk about intellectual property, we talk about human intellect creations. So they need to be novel, original, so that they can benefit from protection. And what is complicated in intellectual property is that when you provide evidence, you don't prove that you are original. You cannot prove that you're new just with what you're presenting. If you have a trademark, a patent, or a new design, just by producing that evidence, you cannot say that that is new or original. You always have to compare to what is already there. You have to observe the state of the art and other works and creations. So the elements of evidence are extremely important in IP. We do not need a positive evidence. We need other people for the patents and trademarks officers or competitors prove that whatever you're filing for is new, or other people have to prove the opposite. So just to highlight a few points, like we always do, evidence is unrestricted. Evidence can be provided in any legal means, of course, but there is no restrictions. Anything can work as evidence or proof. There are no limitations as to where it was produced, when it was produced, how it was produced. There are no such limitations. I always use, and all of those who work in industrial property do it like this in patents. We always use the concepts of Chavannes and Bus, the French authors, who say that prior art has to be certain, sufficient, and public. Certain because you need to be sure that it exists, and you need to know when it was made available or public. It has to be sufficient. It has to be complete. It has to present completeness. It has to be total in the case of patents especially. And it has to be public. And Nadja is probably going to speak more about this later on, because universities and corporations that work especially with inventions know that it is difficult to complete this process. The process of making a creation and protecting every step of the way is a rather complicated one, I believe. So let us see how WIPO is going to help us with this platform. And just to conclude and to give you an example of what the means of evidence are going to be, which we usually forwarded at the court system, we receive documents of property when there is prior registration of industrial property or prior registration of authorship or copyright, and they may be used as evidence. Printed material, letters, contacts, emails, explanatory leaflets, ads, invoices, marketing evidence, and occasionally testimonials or testimonial proof can be used in order to prove the existence of a work. Depending on the industrial property registration, this can vary. And to conclude, I would just like to say that one of the main challenges we have, and we will face many more in the future, is the issue that we have a digital evidence. So how do we produce digital evidence, and how can we be certain about this evidence in the digital environment? So we often see in suits, notary proceedings or documents that are issued by a notary's office saying that at day X a website was accessed, and that at that day there was such and such a content in a given website. This is what we have today, but I think that we still have to make strides in this regard, and the pandemic has come to show us that increasingly we will be in the digital world. So I am extremely curious and eager to hear the presentations of our guests today. So I'm going to give the floor firstly. Well, firstly, I have to work out the technology here. There are many things open here at the same time, and where is her bio? Now that I want to find it, it's not to be found anywhere. Goodness me. Oh, here it is. I apologize, Nadja. Nadja has a PhD in engineering and materials science from the Federal University of Campina Grande in the state of Paraíba in the northeast of Brazil. She is the technical director of the Paraíba State Tecnológico Complex. She's head of the dentistry department of the Federal University of Paraíba. She has certification in industry and health 4.0 from Deusto University in Bilbao. She's an internal auditor on ISO 9001, ISO 17025, 14971, RDC 2030, Anvisa, and she's also a full member of the Brazilian Association of Technical Standards. You have the floor. Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank ABPI and WIPO for the opportunity of being here with you. It is such a pleasure to us to be able to explain about our work. Dr. Edgar, the doors of our technological complex will always be open to whoever wants to get to know us. I think that during the pandemic, it has become increasingly clear how important it is for a nation to be the owner of the intellectual and industrial property it holds in order to solve its own problems. So I'm very grateful, and I will try and explain to you how within a technological complex or a cooperation environment we have built this pathway. To start with, I was very happy to learn about the OMPI tool, because actually there's a gap between ideation and the stage of having your creation protected. So any means that we have to provide this protection in this transition is extremely important. And so we are living through the 4.0 revolution. It is ideal to have a digital platform to help us in this process. So if I may have my first slide, please. So I'm so grateful for all of you for being here with us on a Friday afternoon. I know so many of you whose name I've already seen in the chat list. It will be very nice to speak about our experience. I still cannot see my slides on the screen. Dr. Nadja, your slides are already being shown. You just have to go to gallery view so that you go on full screen. It's not showing to me. I can't see the full screen option. Can you please share your screen then? So I've shared my screen with you. One moment and I'll be sharing my screen. Can you see now? I'm going to share my screen now. Can you see it? Yes, we can see it very well. So I will speak and try to be as objective as possible in this presentation so that you understand the experience of a technological complex in the partnership with an ICT and with a network. We have treaded along the pathway of innovation. Just so that you can understand and I can provide some context, our technological complex is one of the first in Brazil. It was created in 1984 in a cooperation between CNPq universities, the federal and state university. CNPq is an agency for fostering research. Its purpose is to bring about technological and scientific development in our state. And something that has made all the difference, and people ask, how could Paraíba state be a leader in this process? So there are many people who became involved in this process, and we had a gentleman, Professor Reinaldo Cavalcanti, who is from Campina Grande and who was the president of CNPq and who fought for the research in our state. So this is the location, and the city is very much of a university city. We have 6 governmental university campi. We have federal institutes, private universities. We have more than 50,000 undergraduate students in a population of 450,000 in total. And we have this talent for innovation, which is very strong. We have one of the highest number of PhDs per capita in the country. So this made all the difference in building this environment of innovation and intellectual property. We are also known, they say that everything in Campina Grande is large, and we're always the largest or the best in the world. And in the month of June, we have this pandemic, and I was attracted to this title and topic because this is what it is, to safeguard logs and registrations. Many ideas come from the academia, and sometimes researchers are not knowledgeable or mature enough on the and don't know about the importance of protecting their creation and idea. So we do awareness building amongst our community. Now, in this pandemic, I think that the greatest lesson to be learned from this pandemic is this one. I think that all countries, and I read this letter by Macron apologizing for France for not having looked after what should have been produced locally in the country and to have become at the mercy of the foreign market. So it is so important for a country to have scientific knowledge, producing scientific solutions for itself, especially regarding essential factors and also generating GDP. We have paid huge amounts of money for respirators, ventilators, because we were not producing them locally. So this was a sign of alert during the pandemic and a lesson to be learned. Now, what made a difference in the Paraíba state ecosystem is to have the three propellers together in terms of intellectual property and also new knowledge coming from innovative companies and universities. So in our technological complex, the members of our board include researchers and the Science and Technology Secretary of the State, the President of the Trade Association, the Industry Association. So this ecosystem has to be very well coordinated so that we can cover all the range of activities and innovation in order that we can have a social impact and make a difference on GDP generation because of intellectual production. So today we have all of the ideas. So to work in a team, to have ABPI, INPI, WIPO, ICTs, this leads to a more robust construction. And those who were successful around the world took this route. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just have to follow on these steps, these footsteps, so that we reach and reap the benefits of big data and all of the electronic breakthroughs. Last year in Brazil, there was the publication of the general IP data protection. So a lot of our ideas are in clouds. So we need tools to protect us in this process of creation and of knowledge production. So within the context of Paraíba, we created metrics and a goal, namely that universities and the technological complex achieve our objectives. And the complex was the leader of this initiative together with the programs in universities and ICTs. And we have leveraged the patent ranking level of our state. In our federal universities, we broke the records for patent filings. So these are numbers that are so eloquent for our state, because we are a poor, small state of northeastern Brazil. But this is how we did it. We have universities that produce knowledge. We have an incubator from 2016 to 2019. We had a task force to bring about a digital transformation. So this was also one of our concerns. And we have made strides in our actions. Last year, in a very cool partnership, we brought a unit of the IP agency to our university. Mr. Claudio Felipe Armando, who is from INPI, is with us. So we have managed to have a catalytic effect on this university ecosystems. We held workshops and awareness processes, and to teach how protection is granted, because many ideas are created and people who are innovators do not have this technical knowledge that they need to have their ideas protected. So we devoted ourselves to this, and this made all the difference.
So you have an idea. We are having a lot more registrations because we have the partnership in our infrastructure. Also, in our incubator, in partnership with SEBRAE, we built what we call the innovation pathway. We have an incubator, which is more traditional, and articulating together, we advance a lot. And then we have this agribusiness working together, because here we select companies and ideas in the incubators with some kind of technological maturity. And if it's not, then we include in this innovation pathway a program for incubation. So we can get university activities, research, PhD theses together with the companies and provide the necessary maturity so that we can have intellectual property indeed being developed here. And that made a huge difference in the process. When we began, we had more than 30 businesses incubated. When we ran the first certification process, we had 8, and we improved by far not only the quality of the companies, but also what was produced in terms of knowledge, intellectual knowledge, and also a business model with economic and social impact. So we were able to separate the ideas and say, look, your idea requires research project. Yours can be a startup, or yours can go through a pre-incubation process, and that's done together. So it has been a very gratifying work together with partner institutions. And in this campus, we've had many organizations, many events. We had one together with WIPO last year. In our physical structure, we have Mr. Araya, Isabella, people from CMI. We have an interface part as well. We have a senator from the state who is the president of science and technology there. We have a federal congressman supporting us. He is there. Mr. Ephraim, who is responsible in Congress by intellectual property. So we join forces, we do our technical role, but we also go after partnerships in order to strengthen the ecosystem even more. And at universities, we help to create a system related to production knowledge, intellectual production. For example, we have a department, and our general director was also from FCG and responsible for leveraging the patent rank that we have, not only in the Northeast, but nationally. Because he did a great job going after researchers and supporting them and getting patent certification, providing training, talking about it, because sometimes in the academia, our research maturity level is very high, but when it comes to production and protection of ideas, many universities or research center are very immature. So that's why we did this work in order to train everybody. And we also have the Federal Institute Innovation Center. I'm also a professor at the State University and Federal University. We have the state agency as well, and we work together with our greater objective, which is to promote intellectual property. And in this process, we noticed that in order to pave the way, we had to raise awareness and inform everybody. And that's what we've been working on, making a huge effort and doing this continuously. Because at the incubator, we have Core Tech. It's an event we do every month, and we invite somebody from the Federal Institute or from the Federal University and different agencies. We have a partnership with NBA in innovation and technology management, and a lot of research in innovation and intellectual property. So our concern is to foster knowledge, because quality of ideas is very good, but sometimes we felt the need to create a system in the process to go from the idea to the intellectual property, generate a product, and then create GDP and social impact. And we organized many events. We created awards. For example, last year we created one so that the winner could go to a course in the Silicon Valley in California to live this innovation ecosystem in the Silicon Valley. We've done hackathon as well, involving companies in the region who sees the possibility of participating in an ecosystem to generate research and development, and also generate knowledge. So this construction here was actually in Paraíba, related to patent ranks. We included the Federal University of Paraíba, and of course, with all the researchers, and our role was to create a system to enable, to provide the support, to give them the tools so that they can speed up and protect the ideas and go through the innovation process from beginning to end. So we had a very good result in 2017. In 2018, the two universities were first and second in registration. And then from 2014 to 2018, we went from 16th to 8th. And then when 2019 result came up, we were first in the Northeast, and then 8th, and then 7th in the country. So once again, I say it was not done alone. The technological complex, the universities, the research centers, they all helped. It's a massive work, and it has to be collective and synchronized, everybody working together to make it happen. So we had the result from 2018. We were 7th in the ranking. And our challenge now is the following, because we're always talking about generating patents, and now we must generate GDP to our state and bring solutions and social development through innovation. And that's our goal in the medium and long term. So that's our position when we were first in the Northeast, and then Paraíba was 7 nationwide. And I mean, it's a day-to-day battle, because especially in the pandemic, we're going through a very bad situation, because, you know, it's a country that does not have basic education. And I mean, we're 64th in our position, which is very similar to our educational position. So I believe we're all fighters here when we produce, you know, innovation and technical knowledge, despite lack of information and education to the population as a whole, especially in a country with such big social diversity. I mean, it's very hard especially us in the North. I mean, I'm very happy about our technological complex, but I say to everybody that, I mean, it affects me that whatever we produce in terms of science, knowledge, and innovation, it's huge, but we have such big social problem. Even now, contaminated water, right, polluted water can transmit COVID-19, and we do not have basic sewage in the country. The sewage system is not appropriate. So imagine you have like high generation imaging equipment, but then the population as a whole do not have basic sewage. So I believe we must work to reduce this huge social gap. Because if we generate patents and GDP, but we do not cause any social impact, we're not going to be fulfilling our mission. So here we've got some actions to illustrate what we did, research and development with different universities, generating patents from ventilators. For example, here you can see a software we developed, which is for facial recognition, which is helping the local government of Campina Grande to manage social and physical isolation during the pandemic. And we're having a very big rate when it comes to isolation. And we're having a lot of people who's been cured also because of our technology. We've had ventilators, respirators, patents, testing platforms, algorithm platforms for imaging exams, for diagnosis, and etc., using artificial intelligence. So there are many initiatives we foster, and we know that it's going to result into intellectual property. Here we have an image of a project we approved together with the government in order to expand our park. We're going to move into a 2,000 square meters area. We got some support to develop this, and it's going to foster and catalyze this ecosystem, which is working so well, and it's so well synchronized. So I'm going to show you an animation so you see how the technological complex is going to be. It's completely sustainable. We're using renewable energy. We have an area there which is focused on biodiversity and renewable energy. It's in the technological hub of the city, where we have all the universities, basically. Here's a 3D view of the plan of the blueprint, which is being prepared. So we're going to have laboratories, innovation center, science and technology department. They're all going to be there so that we can have a physical diversity of the ecosystem. INPI is also going to come. So once again, I tried to, in 15 minutes, give my presentation. I appreciate the opportunity, and we in Paraíba, the technological complex, we're all available, and whatever we can do to help in the ecosystem, please count on us. So I'd like to thank Nadja for your presentation. it's wonderful to see, your complex in Paraíba. And as Luiz Edgard said, I'd like to, once the pandemic is gone, go and visit and get to know your work, especially in a year's time, right? In the June festival, which is so popular in Brazil. Okay, so now I'll pass the floor, introducing our guest, Mr. Claudio Cocorocchia. He is responsible for WIPO's business planning and strategy of new digital services and its artificial intelligence systems. Prior to WIPO, Claudio drove digital content rights business development for IP owners, mainly Sony Pictures Entertainment for 6 years, and also content publishers such as Glue Mobile, where he helped found their first international office in 2004. Additionally, Claudio established and led Untied Consulting digital practice between 2010 and 2014, and the World Economic Forum's Media and Entertainment Industry Program for close to 5 years before joining WIPO in the beginning of 2019. So
welcome to all, and thank you for joining me today for this overview of the World Intellectual Properties Organization's newest digital service, WIPO Proof. This is the first webinar presentation you're giving for Brazil, so we're very excited about this. So thank you for joining us. So before we get into details of WIPO Proof, I'd like for you to imagine yourselves in the shoes of a real innovator or creator. Perhaps you actually are one, or you represent one, like a large firm that's a powerhouse of innovation. Now just think about the multitude of ideas, creative works, so welcome to all, data, and thank you for joining me today for this overview. Now most of what you produce is likely valuable. Perhaps this value is not immediate, but you definitely won't give this work away or have it fall into the wrong hands. So welcome to all, and thank you for joining me today in the process of innovation. Some of these ideas will become official intellectual property, such as patents, trademarks, and industrial designs, but many will not. For example, not all of your creative works will be commercialized. Some ideas will be kept as trade secrets, and if you thrive on data, well, data can benefit from IP protection. So that's exactly why we created WIPO Proof, to help safeguard all of your precious work that doesn't become IP. So in today's presentation, I'll be taking you through the what, why, and how related to WIPO Proof, so items 1 to 5 on the agenda, followed by a demonstration of the service's main feature and usabilities. This, of course, will then be followed by a Q&A session. So what exactly is WIPO Proof? WIPO Proof is an online fee-based digital timestamping service that provides proof of existence and possession of an original digital file at a specific point in time. The token is the main product of WIPO Proof. It is effectively an encrypted fingerprint of your digital file, which is generated locally by your browser, and that is then date and timestamped and signed by WIPO. It is based on a technology called Public Key Infrastructure, or PKI, which is a process of electronic signed certification. Think of it as a digital notary. Physical notaries can make mistakes, signatures can be forged, and paper trails can be modified after the notarization process. This is not possible with WIPO Proof. Its digital certification process is tamper-proof. Not even WIPO can modify the token because of the underlying secure PKI technology that it uses. Therefore, trusted timestamping means that WIPO can say, with the highest level of confidence, that the date and timestamped digital fingerprint of the file is accurate and cannot be tampered with. Authorities that can provide this type of service are called TSAs, or time stamping authorities. WIPO is a trusted TSA, and many similar services out there are not backed by a TSA, such as WIPO. There is something I'd like to note here as well. WIPO Proof is not a registry of works. WIPO does not upload or store the original file, nor has it any information on its contents. This retains complete confidentiality and discretion. Now, why has WIPO developed WIPO Proof? The answer to this question is very much related to the innovation lifecycle. That WIPO is entrusted to support globally. Looking at this lifecycle as a process, we have various stages, which are displayed on screen. Note the back and forth between exploration and development. This is a very important stage in the innovation process, commonly referred to as ideation. WIPO, of course, is best known for its protection-related normative work and services, and its useful global IP databases that support exploration. However, at every stage of the innovation lifecycle, enormous amounts of intellectual assets, increasingly or exclusively in digital form, are being generated. Such assets like data and research do not benefit from formal IP protection, despite their high value. Additionally, many innovators choose the trade secret route, which does not benefit from national or international IP registration. Lastly, in some countries, formal copyright registration simply does not exist or is very difficult. So proof of existence can be a challenge. In each of these cases, WIPO Proof is extremely helpful in safeguarding intellectual assets. The new service will help WIPO provide needed support during ideation, where a lot of intellectual assets are generated, and in the post-IP filing stage, where additional intellectual assets are born as inventions and creations are worked. Essentially, WIPO now provides a solution to safeguard certain intellectual assets that historically have been challenged, or are challenged to protect, and are rapidly increasing in importance. So what are the key benefits of WIPO Proof? WIPO Proof provides valid evidence that can be used in a dispute. And this helps preempt unlawful behavior. It's affordable. 26 francs is the highest per token price, and that's without any discounts readily available through the service. Storage of the WIPO Proof token for 5 years on WIPO's Swiss-based servers is also included in the price. Given the WIPO brand, it benefits from worldwide recognition. And last but not least, it provides full confidentiality for you and your activities. No information about the existence of the token or the corresponding file is made public. So what does WIPO Proof safeguard? For simplicity, we have organized use cases into 4 main categories. Number 1, trade secrets. One of the main attributes of trade secrets is that the owner has put protective measures in place to safeguard confidentiality, and this may need to be demonstrated. Traditionally, protective measures for trade secrets include non-disclosure agreements, limiting access, physical and cybersecurity protocols, and other similar measures. Using WIPO Proof to create a digital record of the point-in-time existence and possession of trade secrets can be extremely beneficial in deterring misuse and theft from employees and partners. Number 2, creative works and designs. As context here, there are 3 important facts about this category of IP that I'd like to remind you of. First, copyright is an inherent right, which does not require formal registration of works. Second, in some jurisdictions like the European Union, designers benefit from 3 years of protection for unregistered designs. And third, creative works such as films and music are often collaborative and joint projects where each artist contributes their own individual works to produce a final product. and it is this final product that is then commercialized. In each of these three cases, being able to prove the existence and possession of individual works with the highest level of certainty can be essential in resolving future disputes such as infringement, misuse, and misappropriation. Number 3, research and data. In the majority of jurisdictions, intellectual assets such as data and lab notes have no formal registration system or the granting of rights. So safeguarding such assets against potential theft or misuse is critical. Data, for example, is becoming such an important asset for companies and organizations that owners cannot afford to leave such vulnerable data vulnerable to risks. By using WIPO proof to date and timestamp the existence of data in their specific states, entities are strategically gaining a low-cost insurance policy in case such data is stolen or misused. And finally, what we consider other digital assets. These can be related to innovation or IP activities as explained on the slide, but WIPO proof has non-IP applications as well in the secure documentation space, for example, involving audit compliance activities and forensic investigations. Without going into too much detail on the mechanics, I will briefly walk you through the main stages of the WIPO proof service. There are 3 major components from a customer experience point of view. Imagine a customer who wants to secure their intellectual asset through WIPO proof. They access the website where they register themselves with a WIPO account and authenticate to the service. Existing WIPO service customers from UPCT, for example, can seamlessly access WIPO proof using their same WIPO account, and this is facilitated by the IP portal. Once authenticated, customers select a file or several files for which they would require a WIPO proof token, pay for the transaction, and then within seconds download their tokens and receive. In 80 to 90% of the cases, a customer's journey ends here. In about 10 to 15% of the cases, the customer or any third party come back to the WIPO proof service to verify the token and prove the existence of the file at a particular point in time. This could be as part of a dispute resolution or a judicial process. The time difference between steps 2 and 3 could be many, many years after the original WIPO proof token was generated. The online verification process is free of charge, whereas a more formal premium certificate that officially documents the validity of the token can be purchased for a nominal fee. Now let's get to the best part of the webinar and right into WIPO proof itself. This is the top level of the main WIPO proof website. As mentioned before, WIPO proof is integrated within our IP portal, where a standard top-level menu bar is shared across our IP services. From this menu bar, WIPO proof FAQs and contact details are accessible under Help. The WIPO proof website also has its own menu items, right over here. There's access to a personalized dashboard specific to your WIPO account here, and simple navigation to explore key information about the service. The entire homepage is scrollable. Here we scroll down to the use cases, for example. Or we can use WIPO proof's menu to access the detailed use cases here. We drill down further to each use case, which has its own introductory video, example, and more details. The WIPO proof service is accessible from many points on the website, such as from this Get Started button here. Access to the service is immediate, allowing you to quickly generate one or more WIPO proof tokens. Notice here that the service is not requesting authentication, ensuring a seamless user journey. Actual payment, of course, requires login, and we'll get to that. By either selecting or dragging and dropping files, the token creation process begins. In this case, I'm an aspiring entrepreneur with an innovative design idea for a new COVID-19 protective mask that will revolutionize the pandemic protection market. Since my designs are at an early prototype stage, I'm still not ready to apply for industrial designs protection via WIPO's Hague system, for example. So WIPO proof is the perfect solution, allowing me to safeguard my preliminary work. With my file selected, I enter key information to the system that will help me identify and manage the WIPO proof token. It's important to clarify who owns the digital file. In this case, it's mine. Note that with their authorization, you can represent owners of the file, selecting the appropriate options here. Consider this like self-certification that you are the owner or represent the owner. This means that WIPO proof can be used to prove ownership and authorship if the token is presented with additional evidence linking possession to ownership. Moving along, I can use a digital file name that is different from the original name to help me identify it. For example, if I'm safeguarding a data set, I may want to be more descriptive with the file name. Then I need to categorize my intellectual asset, which is important for managing my associated tokens through the WIPO proof dashboard. Here, I have 9 categories to choose from. I decide to flag this particular prototype as a creative design, since it's just an image. Then I include notes to help me identify and manage this particular WIPO proof token. At this stage, I can also decide to include additional files in my request for each file, and the same fields of information would need to be filled in. A point to note is that adding files at this stage does not add multiple files to a single WIPO proof token request, but separate WIPO proof token requests will be generated for each added file. Once ready, I move on to the next stage of the process. The summary page. Notice the price of the transaction is included in the bottom left area. In this case, only 20 Swiss francs, which is the most I would pay for a single token without using a prepaid bundle of tokens. I can also add more files at this stage if I wish. Go back and edit file details should I notice errors in the summary information. And once satisfied, I'm ready to proceed to payment. Here, authentication is required. If I don't have a WIPO account, I can create one directly from this stage of the process in a matter of seconds. Once ready, I log in, and I'm on the payment screen. Notice that my IP portal navigation bar now has me identified, allowing me to move directly to another WIPO service if need to, without requiring additional login. My payment options are made available to me here, and total fees for the transaction are displayed here. In this case, since I have an active bundle, this is the default in terms of payment method, with the fees displayed as a number of tokens that will be used from my bundle. I click Pay Now, and the transaction is processed. But I can choose to save this transaction for processing at a later date through my personalized dashboard. I can also, of course, cancel the transaction or move to previous screens to update my selection and related information. I choose to Pay Now and enter the fourth and final stage of the process, which is the confirmation of the transaction, where I can download a zip file containing my receipt and the actual WIPO token. I can choose to email the receipt, but not the token, to someone else here. Every transaction sends an email confirmation to me that the token has been created with all the associated details, and this also serves as a receipt. The token can be downloaded at any time from the WIPO proof dashboard. It is important to note that at this stage, WIPO has stored a copy of the token on its servers in Switzerland. A 5-year token storage period is included in the price of the token. And before the expiration of this period, customers will be notified by WIPO with renewal options for consideration. Token storage is very useful for many reasons, including a secure way to download misplaced or deleted tokens, or downloading a copy for a business partner. Here, the main process is complete, and by closing the screen, the customer is taken to their personalized dashboard. The dashboard is where you manage all of your WIPO proof activity. which is organized by different sections here. Sections are expandable, as we see with the example of the token section here. By selecting individual tokens, they can then be managed. Here we select the token and can download it again. More details on each token can be accessed by selecting the digital file name hyperlinks here. These information pages provide key details for each token, such as the unique hash code, which is the digital fingerprint that includes the file's DNA information. Other sections can be expanded as well for details, and each section can be accessed rapidly through the dashboard's own menu without needing to scroll to specific sections. Importantly, from the dashboard, all key WIPO-proof services can be accessed here at the top right. For example, buying a bundle of prepaid WIPO-proof tokens here. Once on the service page, I can select from a list of predefined bundles on offer. Here with the bundle of 1,000 prepaid tokens, which can be used over a 2-year period, I effectively reduce my per token cost to only 13 Swiss francs. To reduce my per token cost even further, I can contact WIPO directly for larger bundle options, specifying my needs and requesting to discuss with the WIPO representative. Bundle identity information can be personalized, and then off to payment. Now, to verify a WIPO-proof token, a WIPO account is not required, so this can be accessed directly from the website, right here. For example, if I have access to someone else's digital file and associated token, I can verify its validity, including information on when it was created, all directly from the WIPO-proof website. I access the service directly without needing to log in, where I can select the original digital file that I want to have verified. In this case, I want to verify my colleague's picture of beautiful Mount Assiniboine in Canada, known as the Matterhorn of the Rocky Mountains. I then need to select the associated WIPO-proof token, right here. And now I'm ready to verify the validity of the token and understand when it was originally created. The result is then displayed. In this case, the token is not verified. Either the original file was modified since the time the token was generated, so for example, in this case, the picture was perhaps Photoshopped, or I have the wrong token or wrong original work. If you notice, in this example, I had the WIPO-proof token stored in a folder with more than one picture. This is considered bad practice. We highly recommend that customers store each token with its corresponding digital file in a separate and distinct folders to avoid confusion, and nothing else should be in these folders. I try again with another picture, and voila, verified. The token was created on May 20th, 2020 at 12:24 and 36 seconds of Coordinated Universal Time. Notice in the verification information that the creator of the WIPO-proof token and holder of the original file is left anonymous to protect confidentiality. I can now request an official PDF certificate for this verification, which also includes the details associated to the token and when it was originally created, signed by a WIPO-proof official, by a WIPO official. And this certificate also includes the name of the original possessor of the file. This is what a WIPO-proof premium certificate looks like. It can be very useful in courts of law where the judge or jury requires something in a more traditional certificate format, which can also be printed. The same sample that you see on screen is also available for download from the WIPO-proof main webpage, so you can view it on your own time in more detail. So that concludes this short demonstration of the WIPO-proof service and also my presentation. Thank you for your attention. I look forward to answering any questions. The QR code on the screen is there for direct access to WIPO-proof from your smartphone. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Claudio, for such a complete presentation. And I am so grateful to ABPI and OMPI for the opportunity of having the privilege of having firsthand access to this information and also listening to the experience of Paraíba. So I give the floor now to Erica from ABPI, who will check if there are any questions. I think Erica's microphone is not on. There are no questions on YouTube just now. Marcia says that she could not hear anything. Dr. Elizabeth, Dr. Alvaro, can you hear me? Yes, loud and clear. I cannot hear. Erica says, Dr. Nadja Oliveira. We can hear you now, Erica. We hadn't heard you before. Yes, now we can hear. Can you hear well? Yes, now we can. Great, thank you. So I was asking if anyone would have any questions to ask to Dr. Cocorocchia or Dr. Oliveira. Dr. Marcia, I was asking our guests if they have any questions. I thank them for their lectures. If anyone has any questions, please raise your hand. Dr. Elizabeth Fichetti, you would like to ask a question. Please go ahead. Thank you very much, Dr. Marcia. I allow myself to ask the question in English.
Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Dr. Elizabeth.
Okay. Well, Claudio, thank you very much. I would like to know if it is possible to renew after 5 years, or if it is possible to change, to modify, to update the record of what you have on file for evidence purposes. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Doctor, and I hope everyone can hear me. So to answer the question, the 5-year token storage period is renewable, and WIPO will be contacting all of the WIPO-proof token holders as their initial 5-year period expires with renewal options. So that is definitely something that's going to happen, and those renewal options will most likely be another 5 years or 10 years. And there are advantages of storing the token with WIPO, and I could answer that question another time. And to answer your second question about modifying the token, the answer is no. The whole point of the robustness of the PKI technology is that once the token's created, not even WIPO can modify it. And that retains the evidentiary value of that token. Now, what that token proves is at that specific point in time, in that date, an individual or an entity created the token and was in possession of that original file. So if for some reason that original file changes ownership, was given, a copy of it is given as in a licensing agreement, for example, to a partner, then that token, either a copy of the token or the original token itself, can follow the original work to the new owner. And the new owner would just have to supplement that digital evidence in a future dispute, for example, 10 years from now. as an example, with proof of the passage of ownership, which could be another document, it could be a contract. But the real value of the WIPO proof token is that it cannot be modified.
Makes sense. Thank you very much.
Obrigada.
Érica, eu tenho uma pergunta para a doutora Nadja.
Por favor.
Doutora Nadja.
Dr. Nadja, please go ahead. Dr. Nadja, congratulations on your presentation. This is a very objective question because I know we have little time. Is there a concern of filing these patents outside Brazil in your technological complex? If the answer is yes, what is the criterion to define what country you're going to file it with? We already have this concern, and when we talked to WIPO for the workshop on the Madrid issue, it was because, or the Madrid protocol, it was because some of the innovations that were being created here would have to be protected, especially in ICT, in Industry 4.0. The owners of the ideas seek protection, not only inside the incubator, but also in our startup companies. People already have projects with international partnerships. So this is a reason for our concern. Some of them have partners. They are virtually incubated with us, but their companies are abroad. So we're building a protocol for international protection for this reason. So when I first heard about WIPO proof, I mentioned this to Isabella. I think that the process of internationalizing our ideas is very important. There's the Madrid protocol, and we have to think about providing international protection to our creations. We could not hear Dr. Marcia de Barros. Well, my audio is on, says she. Well, it's on now. She's now being heard. So we have two questions here from Samira Sikira. How is payment made is the first question. A question to Dr. Cocorocchia.
Thank you. Good question. So payment for, through WIPO proof can be done in numerous ways. If you're an existing WIPO IP service customer and you have a WIPO current account, then you can use that. That's the payment method for you, which is very seamless. If not, then you can use any standard form of electronic payment. And that is mainly credit cards. We accept all major credit cards, and also through PayPal.
Ok, a outra pergunta da Samira Siqueira.
The other question by the same lady, Mrs. Siqueira, is whether the WIPO tool also grants the same guarantee as other online registry system or registration system. She has quoted as an example a Brazilian system, which is a startup company focused on copyright and copyright management. I think that the difference in what this company does is that they keep the registration of the copyright. They retain possession of that content and material, which you said that WIPO does not do. So she wants to know if the same degree of protection is granted.
I think most of you know that in the copyright space, registration is not required. it's an inherent right. What's important is being able to prove the, let's say, the existence and the possession or ownership of that creative work. So when we talk about protection, I think we need to distinguish between what's a protective measure, which is what WIPO proof is, and what any copyright registration system is. I think there is an exception, which is the United States, which a lot of additional benefits come from copyright registration, but I'm not sure if that's the case in Brazil. But the real protection is in the law, which is as soon as you create a work, that work is protected by copyright. So regardless if it's registered or not. So what it boils down to is the effectiveness of the proof of existence and your ability to prove that you are the owner of the original creative work. And I think that in that case, if you store the digital file, whether with your copyright registration system, or you just have a proof of existence, it doesn't make a difference in terms of the protective measure.
Ok,
We also have a question from Caroline Palombo, and she's asking about storing files in separate folders in the computer. If you save several files on the same folder, will that be a problem?
Well, no, technically it's not a problem. I would say that from a organizational or process perspective, it's probably not good practice. Because if you're dealing with lots of works or data or ideas that you're creating tokens for, if those are all in the same folder with the corresponding tokens, then it's just it's a management issue of being able to associate the right token with the right file. So it's just good practice to almost project manage your work and your files so that in each individual file you have the token with its corresponding work. So there's no confusion. Now, later on this year, by the end of the year, WIPO will be enhancing WIPO proof, and we will be launching some sort of facilitation mechanism. It could be an online tool. It's in the design phase, which will help our customers better manage their tokens, how they organize their tokens with the original work. So they won't have to really think about having to store it with the original work in the file on their own. The tool will help them do it.
Okay. Caroline Palombo also asks whether the author of the token will always be anonymous for whoever checks the authenticity of the website.
Okay, so I think what you mean is whoever verifies the token is the original creator or possessor of that let's say file that was the tokens generated for, if they remain anonymous. So the answer is yes and no. So if it is verified online through the WIPO proof free tool, which is what I showed on screen, then because that can be done by anybody, it's anonymous. You don't have to have a WIPO account to go onto the system to be able to verify the token. So because of that, then we're very careful. We ensure full confidentiality. So the owner is not displayed. However, because we have this other mechanism of proof of existence, which is the premium certificate, which is that certificate I showed at the end, because it is an instrument to be used in a court of law, we include the original creator of the token, so the possessor of the original file, and their information on the certificate. However, in order to create that certificate, you have to have a WIPO case. So to a certain extent, whoever requests that certificate can be identified. And the interesting thing here is that I didn't mention in the presentation is, if you're a customer of WIPO Proof and you have numerous tokens, and those tokens are given away as part of a licensing agreement, let's say, and third parties begin to verify the token or create premium certificates, you are notified about that on your dashboard. So in your history section, any third party, external party, or even yourself, every time that your token's verified or a premium certificate is created for it, then there's a record put into your history that shows that that's been done and when exactly that was done.
Caroline Palumbo also asks if it is possible to request the authentication of a file as
Sorry, was the question cut off? Can you please repeat the question?
She's asking whether it is possible to request the authentication of a file on behalf of a third party, a third person. And this person requesting would be the legal representative of that first person.
When you mean by the authentication, you probably mean the creation of a token. I assume that's what you mean. So yes, when you create a token, you're given three options to choose from. The first is that you are the original owner. So you are, you represent yourself as the owner of the token. Sorry, of the original file. The second is that you represent a company or an organization or an entity, a legal entity that is the owner of the file. And the third option is that you represent, so your client, so you're an IP services, for example, and your client is the owner of the file. In those two cases that I just mentioned, we specifically ask that you be authorized to legally represent the owner of the original file. But yes, you can represent a third party.
I would like to thank you very much for the answers. We still have a question here, but I'm afraid our time is up. So I'd like to thank you all once again for your participation, those of you who have attended, and our participants and lecturers. It was so nice to be here with you, Erica. And I'd like you to thank you once again for this invitation. Thank you very much, Dr. Marcia. The presentations were actually brilliant, and it was a pleasure to have you all here today. I'd like to thank you on behalf of ABPI and WIPO for your attendance. We close this meeting, and we also like to thank our audience and our guests who are watching us on our channel. Thank you very much. See you next time.